This is Raja's body on what was supposed to be his honeymoon. He was hardly recognizable, and the first responders screamed when they found him. These were the marks of a machete, but it would take a long time before they would be connected to his wife and her shocking motive. In just a few weeks, this went from fairy tale wedding to unfortunate groom accident to a national horror story. What investigators discovered in Sonab's 17-second call would destroy every assumption and leave an entire country asking how no one saw it coming. This is the shocking and infuriating case of Raja Raghuvanshi. Killer wife shockingly slits husband's throat on honeymoon because of this. In May 2025, videos from Raja's wedding went viral. They were the kind of clips every Indian family knows: dancing, giggles, garlands around necks, and families blessing the couple. It was the start of something sacred, and everyone commented about Raja's gentle smile. There was something warm and kind about him. People thought his new wife, Sonam, was happy to have such a man around her. But then there was silence. On May 27th, just days into their honeymoon in Meghalaya, Raja and his wife Sonam disappeared.
Fresh CCTV footage of the couple from Indore who went missing in Meghalaya last month have been released by the state police.
At first it was chaos. Their families were confused, then scared, then desperate. Raja's brother flew out to Meghalaya himself to demand answers. The police explained they weren't very hopeful. The newlyweds had been visiting remote hill areas.
We thought probably they were stuck somewhere, or probably some accident had taken place.
That doesn't mean you don't search for them, Raja's brother insisted. So the State Disaster Response Force was deployed, and officers began combing the terrain. On June 2nd, they found something that would change the narrative forever. Some officers screamed. Others gagged, especially when they looked at Raja's face. The news came fast for Raja's family and for India. This had now become a homicide case. But where was Sonam? The media frenzy took off. Was she kidnapped? Was she a victim too? Had Raja tried to protect her and been killed? Meghalaya's tourism industry was hit with a PR disaster.
Because initially it was being touted as that particular area from where they had gone missing has become a crime hub. It painted a very bad picture for Meghalaya. The entire government was worried.
Even Chief Minister Conrad Sagnama personally thanked the police for cracking the case quickly. At the time, no one knew what they were about to uncover. For a while, Sonam was treated like a missing person.
Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister has demanded a CBI probe into the case involving the missing woman who had gone for her honeymoon to Shillong.
Both her family and Raja's begged for her safe return. Raja's dad even appeared on TV offering a serious reward for her recovery. But behind the scenes, investigators were already suspicious. Something didn't add up. Why had Sonam booked every travel and hotel arrangement herself, but skipped booking a guide? Why did she carry all her wedding gold on a simple hiking honeymoon? And why didn't she book a return ticket? The answer came with a terrifying call. A 17-second phone call Sonam made to her brother on June 9th. The contents of that call were never made public, but according to Sonam's brother, Govind, he immediately told her to surrender. Why? What was she saying that made him so sure she wasn't a victim? Govind went straight to the police, and that's when the stomach-turning truth began to unravel. A multi-state task force, police from Meghalaya, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh, traced Sonam to a roadside dhaba in Gazipur. She was arrested on the spot at a small restaurant.
And now the Meghalaya police is going to take custody of Sonam and interrogate her. This is going to come to light.
Sonam hadn't vanished. She'd run. She had been plotting her husband's death for weeks. From the very start, the wedding was a setup. Police found out that Sonam had been having a long-term affair with a man named Raj Kushwaha, an employee at her own family's business. And when Raja came into the picture, he was a mere obstacle in Sonam's eyes. Even this alone is enough to make your blood boil. But when you learn how Sonam and Raj decided to end Raja and how Raja spent his last moments, you'll really question humanity. This case was about to force India to have a difficult conversation, one that people had been demanding for years. When Raja and Sonam boarded their flight to Meghalaya, the trip looked picture perfect. Sonam had handled all the details, booking flights, hotels, and even the routes they'd take once they landed. But something was missing. She hadn't booked return tickets, she hadn't hired a guide either. Sonam also insisted on bringing all her wedding gold to Meghalaya. And it gets even weirder. Sonam also brought a raincoat to the trip, despite the couple traveling in May. This was not monsoon season. When you realize what the raincoat was for, you're right to feel a knot in your stomach. Sonam was prepared for blood, but what she hadn't planned for was how quickly her plan would fall apart. On May 27th, the couple vanished, and Meghalaya police initially assumed they'd been caught in one of the region's frequent landslides or flash floods. But then Raja's body was found, and not even the most creative cover-up story could explain what the police saw. Multiple gashes, deeper than any wild animal could ever make. Forensics later confirmed the murder weapon was a kukri, a large Nepali-style machete. So why use a machete if you wanted people to believe it was an accident? Because Sonam and her gang of hoodlums, which we'll talk about in a moment, didn't think people would care. Raja's family was hundreds of kilometers away, and by the time the truth surfaced, if it ever did, they would be long gone. Meghalaya police launched a special investigation team, SIT, the moment Raja's injuries suggested foul play.
On June 7th, Meghalaya police kicked off Operation Honeymoon, deploying 20 core teams comprising 120 personnel.
They didn't expect that within 7 days, SIT would crack this case. They didn't expect that.
And you guys, let's talk about the messy scene left behind. Raja's blood was found on multiple items, including Sonam's raincoat, which had been discarded nearby. One of the accused, a man named Anand, had even fled with a blood-stained shirt, later matched via forensics to Raja's DNA. And the most damning of all, there were digital footprints everywhere. Thousands of calls and messages between Sonam and her secret boyfriend Raj. These weren't light flirts. It was an ongoing conversation that went on for years. These two were almost obsessively in touch. And Raj hadn't stayed behind. He had flown before the newlyweds, along with 3 other men, Anand, Akash, and Vishal, under the radar. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment killing. It was a full-blown logistics operation. Sonam's crime scene proved that greed and rage don't always mix well with strategy. Now, the tragedy was just beginning to land. How did both Sonam and Raja's families miss her affair? And who was Raj Kushwaha? Raj was a man trusted by Sonam's family. He worked in their family's factory, close enough to be part of their inner circle, but clearly far enough to fly under the radar when it came to Sonam's private life. The police reports are only days old, but they tell the whole story. Not only have these two been in a relationship long before the wedding was arranged, but they were in touch literally 24/7. And you guys, take a look at the viral wedding video again. Some have pointed out that Sonam looks detached, barely making eye contact in some clips, rushing through traditional rituals. Hindsight makes those smiles look paper thin. The police believe this was their plan, but she made one fatal mistake: that 17-second phone call. We still don't know exactly what she said, but it was enough for her brother Govind to call the police the minute he hung up.
Because it was a day of dramatic developments in Indore as well, after Sonam's brother, Govind went and met Raja Raghuvanshi's family, disowned his sister, and has said that he will fight. He's there with them in their fight to get justice for their son.
Govind told the 1.5 billion residents of India that being tied by blood to someone doesn't mean you have to support them through everything.
परिवार से माफी मांगने वाला, तो मैंने माफी तो मांग ली है, मगर इस परिवार ने एक बेटा खोया है, और जो मैंने लड़की दी थी, उस लड़की की जगह पे मैं इस परिवार का हिस्सा हूँ, उससे रिश्ता हमने तोड़ दिया है, और इस परिवार का हिस्सा मैं हूँ, और आज से सभी चीजें मैं करूँगा उसके खिलाफ, क्योंकि
But while Govind was choosing the truth, his sister was still trying to fool authorities. After her arrest at a restaurant in Gazipur, Sonam claimed to have been kidnapped, then through a stroke of luck, released right there at the restaurant. But her lie fell apart fast. First of all, she had no signs of injuries, she was alert, and her clothes were clean. Secondly, the digital trail was as clear as the digital trail could be. She had been tracked via digital location pings, and the investigators were about to uncover one of the most damning conversations in Indian true crime history. During the initial interrogation, sources say she confessed not to a random attack, but to being a part of the plan. But under Indian law, that confession isn't admissible in court unless made before a magistrate. Still, it was enough to move forward. Investigators began reconstructing the timeline. They recovered the bloodied Kill3r dumped nearby and Sonam's raincoat. They even pulled CCTV footage from 42 locations.
Investigation so far has revealed the timeline of the crime that has hit national headlines. Police sources say Sonam picked Meghalaya for her honeymoon with the intention to kill her husband there.
And now the question isn't whether Sonam did it, it's how long has she been planning it and whether anyone else knew. Speaking of that text conversation uncovered by the police, it's hard to believe anyone could be this sloppy. First, investigators had to comb through disgusting flirts and messages mocking Raja for not knowing about the affair. But then they found messages like this: Sonam, I don't like Raja close to me. Raj, let's kill Raja in Shillong. Shillong will be safe to finish Raja. Written in plain language and traceable text, as if they thought no one would ever see it. And their audacity went on and on. Here they are, Raj, Anand, Akash, and Vishal in custody awaiting their fates. Sonam is in jail too, held separately. But while the three men aren't making headlines right now, Sonam keeps coming up with new ideas. On June 10th, a new report revealed she now told detectives she had been drugged. Yeah, that is after her kidnapping theory failed.
It is a plan gone wrong actually, because the plan was he would have come up with a story probably a month or a fortnight, but that didn't happen. It happened too soon. The case was cracked too soon.
Sonam was caught off guard. She had already heard that Raj had been arrested. Her backup story had to come early. She used the only card she had left. Her kidnapping story, then her being drugged story, were nothing but desperate attempts to save herself. Almost like she didn't think the police would check her phone or CCTV cameras in the area. Now, there's no escape for Sonam, but her case became such a national sensation that the backlash was just as big. Now there were protests in Meghalaya, and people are upset that their region, which relies on tourism, is getting such bad press.
I would like to say that, from day one when they went missing and all that, there was a lot of negative publicity of the area, of the state.
SP Siam says there's a silver lining to it though.
The local people from there, they were steadfast in helping the police, the search parties. They came with us, they helped us with cooking food.
The people want to protect the region and they want to keep tourists coming. So they helped the police with all their power to solve the case fast and prove to future tourists that this was an isolated case. There were no jurisdiction fights, no missed deadlines, no delays, and it paid off fast.
The Bhakti is one big family.
Just days after the murder, Sonam was in custody. And on June 10th, when this interview was recorded, two things happened. One, Raja's body had been returned to his family. They can finally begin to feel some closure and start their long healing journey. And two, Sonam, who had been arrested in Gazipur, was transported to Meghalaya. That means the investigation is ready to move into its final stage, interrogation and trial. Sonam, Raj, and the other men will now face joint questioning as police work to fill in the final gaps. Because this wasn't a moment of rage, it was a cruel plot. A love story twisted into something so vile, it made national headlines for all the wrong reasons. And yet, the story doesn't end with a verdict, but with a national conversation that people felt was long overdue.
The gruesome honeymoon murder of Raja Raghuvanshi, allegedly plotted by his own wife, has shocked the nation. But Sonam Raghuvanshi is merely one of many such black widows who've come in the public eye in recent times.
Because beneath this crime lies a much older story, one that starts not with blood, but with pressure. India's tradition of arranged marriages dates back thousands of years, rooted in caste systems, family honor, and the idea that the elders know best. For generations, love has often been considered a second luxury, something that might come after marriage, not before. And while most modern Indian cities have seen a shift toward love marriages, arranged unions are still the norm, especially in rural areas and conservative families. Even today, studies suggest that more than 90% of Indian marriages are arranged, and in many of those, emotional compatibility is never really discussed. Sometimes couples speak once before tying the knot, sometimes not at all. In the best of cases, this system can work. Some couples build lives built on mutual respect, even affection, but when that doesn't work, the results can be devastating. Women like Sonam, forced into marriages they never wanted with men they don't love, sometimes turn to secret relationships, aka her affair with Raj. But here's the truth: cheating is common, murder is not. Thousands of people around the world feel trapped in relationships every single day, but very few orchestrate machete killings on a honeymoon. What makes Raja's story so painful is not just that he was betrayed, it's that he had no idea. He walked into this marriage with hope. He danced at his wedding with joy. He trusted his wife enough to follow her into the hills of Meghalaya, and now his name is a hashtag. Nothing more than a cautionary tale. This case has forced many Indian families to ask hard questions. Are we really listening to our children when they say no? Are we marrying them off for their happiness or for our own convenience?
Husbands' bodies have been found dismembered in cement drums, dumped in a drain.
Because it's not just about arranged marriages, it's about forced silence, especially for women. It's about how far desperation can spiral when people are pushed into double lives.
The honeymoon murder in Shillong has added on to a list of shocking murders which portray an unsettling pattern. Husbands killed by their wives, often aided by their alleged lovers or accomplices.
Now India gets to decide if all traditions are good. This ex-IPS officer thinks not.
I think the times for just blind arranged marriages is over. Parents have both sides. Boys and girls have to verify little more before they impose a life partner on each other. That's what I think.
Meanwhile, Raja's family is still waiting for justice. There will be a trial, and with it, her full motive will be revealed.
Now, what is the motive of this crime will be known only by thorough investigation.
Perhaps it was the same pattern. Sonam cracking under the pressure of an unwanted arranged marriage, but maybe there's another layer to it. Maybe the darkest truth is yet to come out. Still, it's tragic that it's only after someone dies that the tough questions are asked. Only when a chilling pattern of wives unaliving husbands is revealed that we're ready to confront conservative approaches. Justice will play out in court. But for Raja's family, justice began the moment the truth was exposed. And for the rest of India, maybe justice looks like this. Finally, a real conversation. One that starts not with wedding bells, but with honesty. Now, what do you think? Was this just the darkest possible outcome of a forced marriage, or was Sonam always a ticking time bomb, with or without Raja? And if the text hadn't exposed her, would she have gotten away with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If this story shook you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss the next case, because the truth only gets darker from here.